Regional Transport Committee meeting, the first one for our year. Health and safety message you'll find on page 4, but as you all know, or should know, if there is an emergency, follow Fiona through running and we'll be straight out the door to the side, assembling outside 43 Clayton Road. Toilets down the bottom of the stairs and off to the right as you go down. You'll find bathrooms there. We have an apology from the New Zealand Police, from Matt Pendergast. Welcome. And a deputation from Louise James on trains, who has just arrived with us now. So with that, we will start with our opening karakia. If you'd like to follow us, you'll find the words in front of you. And Mike, if you could lead us off, if you go.
Tēnā koutou katoa, he kia tonga, o tokti hau ki te uru, o tokti hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā tara ki tai, kia ia ki ana te atakura, e tio, i oku, e ahu, tutura witi wakamawa kia tina, huie, taia.
And just for your knowledge, we do have an alternate member here as well for Stratford. Mayor Volsky is the alternate, and I said we're happy to give him speaking rights. But we'll lose him in the vote, Tom. That's all right.
It's not all bad, Tom. It's not all bad.
You can't get to the gate quick enough, though.
And welcome, John, from New Plymouth Council.
Thank you.
And as I said, we have one apology from Matt Pendergast. Are there any other apologies? Matt's offers an apology. Someone like to move the apologies be accepted? Councillor Cloak, seconded. Mayor Nixon, all in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Carried, thank you very much. And our first agenda item 5, is Louise James, I think has arrived with us. Louise, if you'd like to present us your deputation, we've allowed 10 minutes for you to present it and 5 minutes if there are any questions from people afterwards.
Cool, thank you.
So the floor is yours.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and speak with the organisation The Future is Rail, and we have a Taranaki group called Trains Taranaki, and we have been busy with getting signatures on a petition, and we've got over 3,000 signatures on that, and we created a survey to get more information from those who are interested in rail. And the main reason that I'm here is because of what's in your plan to implement a feasibility study on the future of passenger rail in Taranaki. And so I just want to give you some, hopefully, encouragement to go ahead with that part of the plan. When I sent out the petition, we went through, as you would imagine, social media networks, and I just want to give you a little briefing of what came back to us from that. We put it out on the Namuta Advocate social media page, and it got 4,500 likes and 637 comments and 178 shares. And on the Sustainable Taranaki social media page, we got 931 likes and 237 comments and 65 shares. And the kind of things that people were making comments about, I've just kind of summarised the main ones. There's a lot of repetitions in what people were saying. So a high percentage of them were saying what a wonderful idea it was. A few of them couldn't imagine it, and it's kind of a sad thing because it's 1977 since we had passenger rail here, so you can understand why there is a number that can't imagine it here in Taranaki. Many of them shared stories of how they'd travelled on rail before here, even some sharing stories where they went through to Auckland, through the line that goes from here through to the main line as well. There were lots of people talking about how when you're older you don't drive so much, and the coach is a terrible experience for people and not that reliable for times for getting on them. So there was that, and there's also lots of people regarding how great it would be for disability people, for great access for them and for children. And there are like the middle age group between sort of child and young adulthood who don't own cars. So there was a lot of really positive feedback, and there were also those people making comments, get those trucks off the road. So there's also not only people really positive towards passenger rail, but also helping freight to move more by rail as well. And sort of the comments people were saying was great idea, excellent, absolutely, good, amazing, yes please. And then there were people talking about, well, then there's the pricing of it. How would that go and how would that be? So that, of course, isn't up to me to make a statement on that, and that's why a feasibility study is required to get all that information. But I'd just like to give you an interim report from our survey that we did, and we got 500 up to this date, 545 responses to our survey, and 99.44% said they would consider using the rail service if it was there. And the main reason given for using the rail service was to visit relatives and friends, 70%, tourism 58.67%, for events 58.86%, and for shopping 44.46%. And we asked them the question, what locations along the rail line would you use? And a huge amount of them said multiple. So it's not just they're thinking about the trip from New Plymouth to Wellington, they're thinking about the stops on the way as well. And we asked them about frequency, and 16% said that they would at least take it once a week, and I thought that was quite amazing, really. And then it went, less frequency. And we asked them about what we thought would be a cost. We just gave them that from Palmerston North to New Plymouth on the Capital Connection is about $40 to give them an idea of how much they would say. And I think a lot of people don't realise that from New Plymouth to Palmerston North is actually much further than Palmerston North to Wellington. And so the mean amount that they said they would pay was about $66. So that gives you an idea about where people are thinking. But I think there's been a big change just recently, hasn't there, regarding the cost of fuel. And I think someone made quite an interesting comment saying that if you half an airfare and if you double the coach, somewhere in the middle there would probably be a good range for how much to charge us. But altogether, what I really want to say is you have it in your plan to do a feasibility study, and it would be so wonderful if you could initiate that. And also, we're going to be presenting the petition to Parliament, and I was wondering also if the TRC would like to provide a letter of support for our petition going to Parliament. So those are the main things. So, any questions?
Thank you for that. And just following up on your feasibility study request, we will have an update on that for you, which we'll present at our next meeting.
Oh, right.
So thank you very much.
Great.
And of course, you do have the opportunity, of course, to submit through our public consultation process on our RLTP coming up as well. So
yes.
Keep that in mind, which is your opportunity to
yes.
have your say as well.
We will do that.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
I just wondered if you've discussed anything with NZ Rail.
No.
They'll be the provider.
Not at this stage. One of the things about NZ Rail is they're very interested in tourism And for example, the Southerner is beginning again, but as a tourist, just going several times a week to Christchurch to Dunedin and costing quite a bit of money. Whereas we're looking at good public transport for us here, isolated out in the province, to connect us interregionally and through Whanganui, Palmerston North and down to Wellington. Yeah.
Just another thing, one of the things that would have to be very mindful of is the government's drive for rate capping. Anything we try and do, and even do a feasibility study, will add percentages onto the rate, so it depends on how much the ratepayers will be prepared to pay, because we certainly don't have a budget at this stage for going further ahead right at this stage. So it depends, how do you feel if if there's another 5% added onto the rate to try and implement this, or even 10%.
And that's how much it would be.
We'd probably be looking, even could be in excess of that at the time you set up infrastructure and everything.
Would be.
For a feasibility study.
Well, to actually even go further forward, is what I mean, after the feasibility study, if it was ever there, it would be a major rate increase.
Yeah, those figures will come out on a feasibility study, give you a pretty good idea of that sort of stuff. Mayor Volsky.
Just one question, Louise. In your study, obviously it's primarily targeted at asking people, whether they support the rail line and the potential use that it might have. So you're kind of looking at is there enough interest to merit going further? Did you ask any questions at all about the associated infrastructure and what expectations will be there, given that all the little railway stations that the train used to stop at one point in time, most of them are still there, I think, but they're all run down unbelievably. They're just shells of what they were. So there would be not only the cost of operating a train, but there's also been a very significant infrastructure built to meet these expectations.
Yes, that is correct. And one of the things that would be considered, like I used to go on a train myself when it was here in the 70s. We stopped at many stops, but in the future there wouldn't probably be as many stops, and so there wouldn't be the huge amount of bringing it back up to how it was in its heyday. But there would be fewer upgrades required here than previously, in our history.
No questions in the survey about that?
No, we didn't. No.
Okay, thank you. Nothing further? Okay, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for coming and presenting
That's all
here
right.
again.
Thank you, and I look forward to the next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is item 6, which is confirmation of the minutes of this Regional Transport Committee held on the 28th of August. I can also ask at this time, if you look at the public excluded minutes, which is item 16, if there's nothing in there that needs to be addressed, I would be happy if we could move both of them together, and then we don't have to move into that public excluded at the end.
I'll do that, Chair.
You're happy with that?
Yes.
Nothing extra to add? Okay. So in that case, the recommendations from page 6 will take the minutes of the Taranaki Regional Transport Committee held on the 28th of August and the public excluded, that we confirm and note those through the two recommendations. Moved Councillor Cloak and seconded Mayor Nixon. Are there any comments on the minutes or items from that? Put it all those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Move on to item 7, which is the receipt of the minutes of the Regional Transport Advisory Group, which was held on the 19th of Feb from page 11. Fiona, as chair of that committee, anything you'd
on
like
that
to...
occasion, yes.
On that occasion, does it vary?
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to highlight or bring to our attention from the minutes?
Not really, Chair, thank you. Unless there are any questions, the majority of matters discussed in that will actually come up within agenda items.
Right. Any questions, points from the RTAG minutes?
The only thing is the council's concerned about the continuing issue of fly tipping, and that is probably right through the whole province. I just wondered if they've got any measures to try and address that.
As a district,
Yeah.
I don't know if they...
Whether it's been discussed
Road
around
and
the council
do the
table.
mayors have any comments on that? The fly tipping obviously is becoming a major problem and highlighted in Stratford's report, I see, as well.
And South Taranaki.
Yeah, in South Taranaki.
It is a major problem, and we've just been considering some recommendations that would make it worse.
Yeah, increasing.
I'm not sure how that works. Talking about that, I'm talking about office recommendations recently to council that would increase our transfer station costs dramatically to make them the same as what our northern and southern neighbours have. And so at the moment, we're probably collecting a fair bit of rubbish that comes from our neighbouring councils because it's quite a bit cheaper to bring it to Stratford. And our officers recommend we should be the same, but that will have more of a barrier, and so flight tipping will, you could imagine, would go up. But it's certainly a problem, and they fly tip things that they can take to the transfer station at the moment for nothing. And they still fly tip them, and they've got several spots that they like. And Skinner Road is one of them, the council avoided it, so it's a very live subject. And a little street in Stratford, the dead end street called Porsche Street, proper stuff there. And where we can, we try and identify the culprit, and if so, we'll try and recover charges, but it's not easy, it's ongoing, and there's been more and more of it. I don't see a solution, I'm sure the city does.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. We were very concerned about it 2 years ago when we put in place fortnightly curbside collection. We thought that people fill the bin and can't dump it. We actually haven't seen a huge increase. I mean, it is a problem, and it certainly hits some places, but we haven't seen a huge increase compared to what we expected since we've had the fortnightly pickup. In fact, it's all working well because our overall waste is going down and recycling.
I've also noted in the Ops and Regs agenda there's been a lot of tyres tipped, and to the streams, and that's in New Plymouth district. So it's obviously a big problem with the three districts. So, has New Plymouth got any comment?
Similar to what me and Neil was saying, I think in terms of we're going through the process of our sorting facility in particular, and a lot of that, yeah, it's sort of been mooted just in social media commentary that it's obviously going to be an issue. If we don't have that available, then the natural lander is always going to fly tip it sort of scenario. So we're all in a very similar position. And obviously I think with what the deputation was referring to before, that's an emerging risk as well, because the fuel cost goes up, it's going to cost us more to get rid of rubbish that's going to come up. So at the moment, sending it to our south is a good option, but it won't be forever.
Well, it's obviously an ongoing problem. Obviously, councillors are well aware of it and taking the precautions or things they can do to minimise it or prevent it.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So the recommendation we have on page 11 is that we receive the unconfirmed minutes of the RTAG meeting held on the 19th of Feb. I have a move that we receive those minutes. Councillor Harris, seconded. Mayor Nixon, all those in favour, please say aye. Against, it's carried. Thank you very much. Move on to the next item on the agenda. Item 8 is the key functions in terms of reference, which you'll find from page 18. And I've got a little note here. Fiona, are you going to brief us on this one or changes that may be in there?
Certainly.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, you'll come.
So this item serves as a reminder of the key functions and processes of the RTC and also its advisory group, the RTAG, or the Regional Transport Advisory Group. It seeks to refresh the terms of reference of each group for the new triennium, and for information purposes, a calendar is attached providing an overview of the anticipated regional transport meetings for the year. The request is to consider the two draft terms of reference before you. So each has had changes from the previous wording tracked for ease of your reference, if you wish to have a look through that. For the RTC's terms of reference, you'll see that the updates relate to the addition of advisory non-voting members as per the committee's December 2023 resolution, those being Kiwi Rail and the New Zealand Police. Removal of the regional speed management plan requirements, which were thrown at us and then removed from us again, and minor updates to reflect legislative changes. For the RTAG, you'll see that the updates relate simply to the removal of a regional speed management plan responsibility and terminology update for areas of Waka Kotahi. Subject to any comments received, we're seeking endorsement of these two terms of reference documents. I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you. Are any questions regarding our key functions in terms of reference items that have been addressed?
Chair, just one thing that is a frustration and has been for a long time with Kiwi Rail and attending the meeting. So obviously there's an apology today from New Zealand Police. When this meeting notice goes out, obviously it goes to police and Kiwi Rail, is that correct?
Yes. Kiwi Rail told us that they were going to zoom in to this meeting, and I did check with Lisa, and no, they haven't yet.
Okay.
But that was the start was the word we had. But obviously it had been notified, etc.
Yes, I mean, we did manage to get them there a bit over the last 18 months and there a couple of times. And I think if we don't see them, it's something that we need to follow up. I mean, I had some quite good discussion with them and we managed to get them here, but I think it's so important to actually have them here.
I do too.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, I'll just a comment with it, but I'm happy with it.
Okay, thank you. I am too. There's just one thing, and it was the meeting on the 16th of September, which is a State Highway 3 working group meeting. It's another one I'm unable to attend. They shifted the dates from last election period. And so this one will fall on a day I can't attend as well. If something could be done about that, would be appreciated since I'm supposed to chair it.
The meeting went far better without you.
Chair,
Thanks.
I can give an update on that following yesterday's hui. The committee, the working group acknowledging that there's quite a bit of work ahead of it in terms of RLTP and all the rest of it, agreed to meet 3 times this year, so 2 additional meetings. We do need to set those dates to get the ultimate attendance, so don't take that September date as read.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anything further with the terms of reference? No? Okay. You happy to move the recommendations? Councillor Cloak, seconded Councillor Harris. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. We will move on to item 9 of the agenda, which is developing the regional land transport plan, which you'll find on page 34 in your agenda. And again, Fiona, pass back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is an information item that provides an overview of the role of the Regional Land Transport Plan, or RLTP. Figure 1 within the memo shows the relationship of the RLTP to core documents and funding streams. It's the same as within our current RLTP, just for your information. Developing the 2027 RLTP is the committee's key responsibility statutorily and its core work program through to the end of July 2027, when the revised RLTP is due to Waka Kotahi. Figure 2 in the memo outlines the indicative development timeline for the Taranaki RLTP as it stands currently, though I'll just note that it is a moving feast, and Linda is smiling because she agrees. As members are aware, an investment logic mapping, or ILM process, with all member organisations and key stakeholders is underway. The first workshop was held last Wednesday, the 11th of March, and while 3 organisations were regrettably unable to be present on the day at late notice, those being Kiwi Rail, Police and Heavy Road Transport, we still had good participation of 27 representatives across 12 different organisations. A post-workshop pack is being sent out to attendees later today ahead of the next workshop on 26th of March. The outputs of that ILM process will be brought to the committee's 11th of June meeting, along with suggestions on how these could influence the strategic framework for the RLTP 2027. Other points within the memo in front of you relate to the awaited draft Government Policy Statement, or GPS, on land transport for 2027. And finally, to the national legislative reforms underway, I'd like to draw attention to paragraphs 30 and 32, which outline the uncertain context in which we are all commencing development of this next round of RLTPs. What we do know is that the existing RLTP process under the Land Transport Management Act will continue in its current form while the reform process works through. Nothing else has been considered at this stage, so we carry on in this format. It is also clear that transport has not been considered fully within the proposals as released so far, which I assure you is a matter being emphasised to the government through a number of channels. So if you can add to that, that's always appreciated. So the request to receive the item and to note both the indicative development timeline provided and also the increased collaboration with our northern neighbours Waikato in seeking resilience improvements to State Highway 3. And if I can just note, at the ILM process this time, we do have Waikato Regional Council represented, which is our first time. And I'd just like to note in response to Mayor Nixon's comment about Kiwi Rail being AWOL, much of the time, that Alan Piper was an attendee expected for the ILM workshops, and they had a ferry incident the night before, and so he gave his late apologies. But just, there was the intent. Okay. We'll look forward to the 26th of March and see how that unfolds, perhaps. Mike, did you want to add anything on this item?
Chair, happy to do so. So one of the key themes that was coming out of the ILM session was around resilience and what that means and how that's interpreted and how that comes into reality through our RLTP. But in particular, with a focus on State Highway 3 North as a major route out of the region that has significant economic, social and other wellbeing implications for this region. But the majority of that state highway is actually in the Waikato rohe, so we have to work very carefully with our counterparts. So what was really pleasing was the attendance of both officers and elected representatives from Waikato Regional Council, their RTC, at that session, and the invite that we've received to attend their sessions, the first of which is tomorrow, so that we can get that recognition of that priority for us, which is outside of our region, recognised in the Waikato RLTP. So, so far so good. We've had good cooperation and good intent, and we look to see that come through in the final documents.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a very good, productive session, I thought, the 11th of March meeting, so well done with that. And so, hopefully there are not too many changes in the GPS that undo the great work that's happening.
There's also an election coming to
Absolutely. So look, hope the changes aren't too bad coming up. Yeah.
Suffice to say, I expect to be doing 2 draft submissions on draft GPSs.
Yeah.
So Chair, what was pleasing is so far a lifting of the focus in a more strategic direction from the mahi that's been done today.
Excellent, thank you. Mayor Volsky.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just Fiona, just on number 18, at page 36 of the agenda, which is the excuse me, the timeline. Which of those points is the trigger point for us as councils to try and get some inclusion of projects or concerns that are special in our patch. So if we've got a section of road or bridge or some other issue that we come up with, what's the point where we can try and get that into the plan? Because if, in my experience, if it's not in the plan, it will not go anywhere ever. It's got to be in there. So that's the start point for our discussions. That they might not ever eventuate out of the plan, but the plan will be used as an excuse not to do them if it's not in there. So things have to be in there. So when are we going to get that chance to put up our list of things?
So that aspect is in the programming of activities within the program. So there's two ways you can do that, Mayor Gorski. So you can, if you're putting it forward as a project that you would have co-funding for, then it goes into that priority process, so not the priorities, but you actually lodge those within TO, sorry, I'm just checking, by 11th of December, I believe, for improvement activities. If they, Linda's kind of looking at me nodding because they're changing the dates kind of daily at the moment. If it is something that you think is more for the longer term and you're not going to be able to be put it in within that 3 to 6 year time frame, then we would recommend putting it in on the horizon listing as flagging other work that's not included within the plan that we would want to be put forward should funding arise.
Yeah.
So there are a number of aspects you can do that. We do that, we group those through the RTAG process.
Yeah.
So your representatives on that would bring those forward for the drafts that then come to you.
So that's at a local level. What about on a state highway level?
State highway level, we rely on the SHIP, the State Highway Investment Proposal, to propose things forward for us the chairs and councillors to consider. That has historically been our largest bugbear because we often don't get that information and we don't get any oversight of that. Certainly not in time to meaningfully impact on it. So I might leave that over with NZTA for that one, sorry.
Through the development of the SHIP, which colleague Lisa leads for Taranaki for the Central North Island, and our team, that RTAG's probably your primary place initially to advocate for state highway improvement projects and ensure their inclusion. That work is underway at the moment. So that would be the first stage. And then the second stage then in terms of priorities for the region, and if you have particular district level priorities, they will get brought through into this group to decide at a regional level. They can include both state highway projects as well as local road projects. But the main thing is to add to your point is to get them in if it's a local road into TO for improvements or otherwise, if it's continuous programmes, and ensure the officers are well briefed to engage with Lisa and her team on any particular state highway improvements that you feel are a priority. We've got a pretty fulsome list, but it's worth double checking if your team have got particular ones you want to make sure are in there. Let us know.
Thank you. I think that'll be really good because I don't doubt the list will be reasonably comprehensive, but it's already been through a scrutiny process, and so it's not, the issue is not usually about what's in the list, it's usually about what's not in the list.
Yes, quite.
And so if there are particular things in our respective patches that concern us, we need to get them in here, otherwise it just goes nowhere.
Yeah, you're quite right.
And if there's no funding, then the answer to that is still put them in there and sit them there in the list with no funding, so they eventually bubble to the top and are not forgotten. Yeah.
Yes, and as we all know, things change in terms of funding sources throughout the period of an NLTP. If we get other sources of Crown funding like the Resilience Fund, it is critically important that it's in the RLTP. If it's not in there, it won't be able to attract funding from other sources either. So you're 100% correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I just take the opportunity to ask a question, Chair? So with the SHIP, as Mayor Volsky said, it already goes through a bit of a scrutiny process, so we don't see what's was originally possibly intended but not included. Is there an opportunity for us to see that full list for Taranaki? Or when will be the earliest time that we can see what is being proposed, so members can actually cast their eye over what's not there that they think should be?
I am aware that it's at the longest stage currently. I am unsure when we can share that with councils. We did share some of the activities on the State Highway 3 for the working group, Blue Sky Thinking. I think probably where we're at right now, and Mayor Neal, I would note that our officers are having ongoing conversations, and I would hope that they are joined up. So at this point in time, we are both on the same page as far as what activities might be required on the state highway for those ongoing conversations. So I'm happy to, I have asked when we will be engaging on the ship, yet to get a clear answer on that. I also think a lot of what we are probably discussing is low cost, low risk activities, as well as what may show up in the SHAMP, which is Activity Management Plan for the State Highway, which includes maintenance and operations, and we don't have visibility across those activities just yet, so it's still very early days.
So will we have visibility for the councillors across low cost, low risk?
We don't have visibility just yet.
No, but sorry, will they?
I'm unsure what the engagement
Or
process
whether as it
looks like.
come as a bucket, if it comes as a bucket, we don't know what's in there.
I'm unsure just yet because our portfolio team is actually leading that process. Our local estimates are feeding into what's on the list, so I'm happy to report back to you in response.
Thank you. Vincent.
Can I ask just a quick question? Regarding the low cost, low risk project, in the past it's more or less called minor safety improvement, where a region get a portion, a sum of money to do that. And in the past, we do deal with the NZTA officer to say, okay, we got this lump of money for low cost, low risk. Do you guys got any input into the project you like to see for low cost, low risk for the region? But I just wondered, is this something that could happen, or is it different now, obviously?
Through you, Chair, I think given the stage that we're at on our LTP development and some of the information we're still working through, I think it's probably better for us to take some of the operational questions offline and then come back to the next RTC with fuller details, and to the RTAG group, noting the officer and members' interest in having the opportunity to review the ship and queries over low cost, low risk funding.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Nothing further, Fiona? Okay, thank you. So the recommendations on page 34, of course, is to receive the memorandum on the developing of the transport plan, note the timeline, and also note the increased collaboration with Waikato District Council. So do I have a mover for those? Thank you, Mayor Nixon. I'll second it. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Move on to item 10 on the agenda, which is our submissions and other advocacy work on page 41. And Fiona, going to enlighten us what's in there.
Okay, last item from me today. As noted at paragraph 2 of this memo, national consultation processes, they simply continue, and at this time at pace throughout the local government election period, and a number of consultations on national or regional matters have taken place in the intervening period between the committee's meetings. So this item provides updates on the advocacy work since that last meeting, including closing the loop on 2 submissions made. Now please bear with me, as there are 5 of these, and I'll note what I'm asking for you for each one, and pause for any queries after each one. So the first update, at paragraphs 4 to 5 of the memo, is on the driver licensing reform. This is simply for your information. This is closing the loop on the committee's June 2025 submission on the proposed changes to the graduated driver licensing system, noting that the final changes were announced last month and most come into effect on January 2027. Happy to pause for questions.
Yes, Chair, I think the points that we've made haven't been fully addressed and are still going to cause problems, especially to preparedness to drive in different conditions on the road, and also hours spent behind the wheel before they actually get out into the network. Australia you have to drive for so many hours before you're actually allowed to, and that was something that I think that needs to happen with New Zealand. So it was good that they've made some changes, but in my view and our view here, they just haven't gone far enough. And I don't know whether there's an opportunity just to go back and send a letter back and say, look, we support the changes you've made, but we've still got these outstanding issues which our committee is very strong on. I don't know if there's a possibility to do that.
I don't know if they would revisit it after it's done so much work on it themselves, but I don't know what are the thoughts.
Well, I just didn't want to leave it on the table as if we accepted it, that's all. But they might not do anything with it, but at least we've noted that it needs to go further.
Mr. John.
Yeah, I agree with Tom on that. I think it's they've obviously, the submission's been excellent, and they've gone and done just about everything that was against the submission. That falls right within my wheelhouse from the police background, even driver training background now, and I totally support everything you've said in there and agree with Tom. I think it's worth even noting, just for an argument's sake, that we accept it, that's fine, but we'd still like to push back a little bit further and explore it. I don't think it's out of our realm to do that. I think it's quite a safe thing to do, not to cover our backsides, but just to simply show thanks, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay. Farron's nodding her head, so she'll draft something up and flick it around by email, and we can all have a input into it, and then the final draft we will send that off. Thank you. Fiona.
Okay, moving on to the second matter. So if you refer to paragraph 6 to 10 of the item. So this is regarding the State Highway 3 Waiwakaio speed limit review. This consultation opened the day after the last committee meeting in August last year. As noted in the memo, the contents of the submission was undertaken via email with members, enabling a submission to be made on the 1st of October. So this is now to close the loop on that required process. Approval of that submission is now being requested from members, and it is an attachment to the memo. And I'd further note that the changes have gone through and are going right ahead.
They're in place.
Yeah, which is great.
Sorry, can I jump? Yeah, so as a new councillor to this, thanks. just thank you for the work that you guys have done pre this. I jumped on this as well myself, and from the community, a huge thanks to all the work that's gone involved with that. We were discussing this on the way down. Tuesday, those changes came into effect. Witnessed what would have been an absolute T-bone and nasty fatality about 3 car lengths in front of me on about 9 o'clock Tuesday morning. So the naysayers are going to say, yes, we're losing that 1.5 seconds per day. I'm quite happy to back that because I've been through enough fatalities to know that they take a lot longer than 1.5 seconds, so thank you. I just want to ask one question on that, can I, around that? Just we still have from Mangati Road and Bell Block heading towards the Plymouth, perhaps this is for Linda as well, I guess the 100k zone for probably 1 kilometre or so, which is sort of an at-odds inconsistent corridor in terms of the rest of the that highway. So is there an appetite to have a look at that rezoned back to 80? Because it's inconsistent with, and virtually impossible even from a policing point of view to actually enforce that. So I'm keen to sort of get some thoughts from NZTA on that one.
Linda, would you like to comment? Or?
Yeah, it is an inconsistent section of the corridor. The team will be looking and reviewing. It has to be in line with the setting of speed limit rule 2024, which does very tightly govern what can and can't be done. Yep. Should your council wish to advocate, they can advocate through officers directly, but there is also the opportunity to put in a formal letter to NZTA, to the regulator. Your team should have the details of that email address. Yep. But that's certainly good for us to have a formal query direct into the regulator.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Linda. Councillor Clark.
I've just got one comment that has come up in this short time, and that is the holding times on Egmont Road have worsened. And the feeling is that it's because there's not enough vehicles coming through that section. It's taking too long to get them through. and the stacking coming in, because it's immediately slowing down. It's slowing the amount of vehicles getting through the intersection to allow the vehicles turning right into Bell Block. And there's already stacking times going on there already. So that's just a comment. It's an adverse effect to lowering the speed. And then it's likely to cause frustration, pull out, not at the right times. And so I really do push our wish to further investigate the changes to that intersection, because we've really only put a Band-Aid on it.
Can respond to fold. So as a result of the change to the speed, we can request monitoring by WTOC, look at the phasing of lights, particularly at peak time, to see if there's any improvements that can be made to that. And also, prior to the implementation of the speed review, we are working with New Plymouth District Council, the change to the speed, to monitor for the next 6 months the impact on that stretch of State Highway 3 and the associated intersections, to see if further changes do or do not need to be made as a result of lowering the speed. So I appreciate the feedback. Would be interested in if it's just at peak times or if you're seeing it all the time. But we can take that offline.
Thank you.
I'd love to talk to you offline.
Would you really? Would you really?
Thank you. Nothing further, Fiona?
Sorry, can I just seek clarification? Yeah. Is the letter to NZTA as regulator for that particular section of the road, is that planning on coming from NPDC, or is there something in action here for me?
NPDC. Yep.
Thank you.
Save your job.
Okay, so moving on to the third matter for the day. Paragraphs 11 to 14 is similar to the previous one, though the State Highway 3 speed limit review involves the northern entrance to Harwood this time. You will note here that a track change version of the submission is provided to show that an additional point was added from that originally circulated via email, and this was as a result of feedback received from STDC. Again, approval of the final submission as made is requested, and I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Fiona. Not so much a question, but a couple of comments. That's now gone through. But we don't have any signage yet. When is that likely to be?
Early April.
Okay.
Yes,
thank you.
Hot off the press.
There was nothing for Normanby, and so what is in red that was added in, obviously there's no mention of that, and I will still continue my hardy annual of safety around Normanby School.
Yes.
And my disappointment, which is perhaps outside this a little bit, the fact that we've got 30 kilometres on highways outside schools, we've got a town divided by a highway, and we can go 70 past that school where kids have to cross, which again I'm not happy with. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just in support of Mayor Nixon, who we discussed this at length last night, actually, on our journey down State Highway 43, doing some reconnaissance work, and
never stopped.
He made a point, and I think this is actually quite relevant. If that particular stretch of road, at the moment, it's 70k past that school, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's because the school's entranceway goes onto a side street just around the corner from the highway. If they were to shift their entrance gate to the highway, which is simply cutting a hole in the fence, then it would be 30k past there, would it not?
Thank you for the question. There's two parts to that. It's predominantly where the vehicle access pick-up and drop-off point is, and it's the main entrance, so the proximity to the state highway. But I would just note that we are required to implement as per the setting of speed limits rule, which I know we've discussed at length.
Absolutely.
And to this stage, unless there's any material change to either where the children and how they access the school and are picked up and dropped off, then we cannot provide any other speed reduction at this stage.
I'll just ask another question. What's the speed limit at Nairi School?
gosh, I don't know off the top of my head. It will be to do with, all of these are governed by how the roads are classified, the number, as we've discussed as well, the number of children that are walking and cycling to any school, and the appropriate speed limit as governed by the rule.
I think that it's 70 kilometres an hour, I think.
So, Taranaki Diocesan School in Stratford, the main entrance is on the state highway, and that's just had a 50k sign put up there on the basis that that's the main entrance. Ironically, just up the road at Woolworths, at 70k, the volume in and out of Woolworths would be thousands of times more per day than that particular school has. And the school has an alternative entrance, which is the one that everybody uses. So, you know, when you get a desktop exercise that says put speed limits outside like the entranceways to school, it's not taking into account the existing traffic patterns. In a normally's case, it's clearly the case if you come out of the gate, whether you're on the side street or the highway, you still end up having to cross the road to get to the other side of town. So it's a nonsense, you know.
Noted, and my only advice that I could give members or individual councils is the appropriate channel to relay concerns or feedback would be via the Ministry of Transport for the setting of speed limits rule 2024.
Can I add a perhaps light-hearted but cheap and practical solution for me and Nathan's problem? I purchased a cheap yet roadworthy and road legal bus, put a school sign on it at Normanby. Instantly that is a 20k an hour zone, solving issues until we can gain funding to bring it into national significance programs.
As a school bus driver, I can tell you that they don't.
I know, but it's better than nothing.
At all.
And it can be enforced.
Would be nice.
Thank you. No problem. Happy to please.
20k an hour speed limit organised by Weir Brothers. Thank you. Anything further for that? Take it not, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the fourth matter, paragraphs 15 to 17 for your reference. So this provides copies of the final letters that were sent at the committee's request regarding your serious concerns about the speed limit reversals on State Highway 3 between Waithra to Bellblock. These are for noting only. At this stage, I would note there has been virtually no response other than to accept acknowledgement and from the Minister of Transport to direct it to NZTA saying that was their problem. But there hasn't been no response at all from the Regulations Review Committee at this time. If anything further comes ahead, I will bring it back to this forum. Any questions on this?
Just one, have we got any data on incidents or crashes, near misses, etc. we've allocated or gathered from since that speed change been put into effect?
Not at this stage, NZTA may.
Not to hand, that would be lodged on our CAS system if there was.
So we can get that offline. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. Fiona.
Okay, fifth and final matter, paragraphs 18 to 21, that speaks to the integration of transport planning into the resource management and land use reforms. Most specifically, concerns about transport considerations essentially being missing in action. I've simply provided some relevant excerpts from submissions made on the reform bills for your noting. Naturally, we'll bring more information to the committee as things evolve in this area. But just really wanted to make sure that you were across the fact that there are serious concerns. There is no consideration really of transport planning or funding within the processes for, say, the regional spatial plans. It's quite an oversight considering what the transport does as an enabler for the infrastructure around it. So just really wanted to note it and make sure you're aware of that. And if more information is wanted on those reforms, I imagine most elected members are well across them, but if more information is wanted, we can request our strategy lead, Finbar, comes to a future meeting to provide an oversight as things evolve, if that was wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for me, Chair. Next time, it might be best to insert other items in between me to give you guys a break from my voice and my voice a break.
if that's required from you, but we're quite happy with your presentations, Fiona. They were very precise and to the point, so I do thank you very much for those. Is there anything further with Fiona's presentations? Thank you very much for that, Fiona, and with that, everyone is happy, and we're going to move on to receiving the recommendations, which you will find on page 41. The only thing we will add is, of course, that letter regarding the driver licensing system. We weren't totally happy with their result. If you're all in favour of that, could I have a mover for that? Thanks.
Happy to move with those changes.
Thank you, Mayor Nixon. Seconded.
Happy second.
Councillor Woodward. All in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 11. NZTA Whakakotahi update. We're always pleased to have that, and Lisa was just firing up the PowerPoint presentation that is also in front of you if required. Linda, the floor is yours.
Yeah, just pull it out.
63.
63 it starts, sorry.
Many thanks, Chair.
It's coming.
It's coming. Usual format, we'll start off with, where am I pointing? A bit of an update on some of the key national initiatives. So as well as RLTP and NLTP development for the 27-30 year, we are preparing for board decision making on funding assistance rates for the 27 to 30 year, anticipating a decision on all of those in August of this year. So just an update on that. Next one. You'll be aware through the GPS and much publicity that number one priority for the government through this year's GPS and land transport plan is the roads of national significance. Construction is underway on 4 of those now. 2 of them in the central North Island being the Hawke's Bay Expressway and also Otaki to north of Levin. Just as a point of interest, perhaps, all of the investment cases and the work across all of the roads of national significance are now available online, should anybody be interested in those. Next one, national ticketing solution. Won't dwell on this too much. We had a good discussion or an update on this at the Regional Public Transport Committee. Just noting the Motu Move, as it is called in the public domain, is now underway and being rolled out across the Greater Christchurch region. This is the introduction of contactless payment options and a consistent service right across the country on all modes of public transport, with the exception of, I think, a couple of ferry operators up in the Auckland area. Continuing to work with Taranaki Regional Council as well as some of the other small to medium-sized public transport approved organisations on the appropriate phasing and rollout for the Taranaki region. And noting too that as well as making it much easier for users, it will also be a great source of data and information from a passenger perspective to help inform future planning and investment. An update on our maintenance contracts. So we've touched on this in a few RTCs, and that's the shift away from our network outcomes contracts to our integrated delivery contracts. You'll see there just an update on who the successful tenders, suppliers for each of the regions across the country are. We are now, after a significant procurement process, just having now finalised all of the contract signing and are now into full workshop mode with each of the suppliers for a transition date of, I think it's 1 May. Yes, 1 May 2026. So for here, it is being rolled over to Downer as the supplier. That was due to the still being 3 years term on their current network outcomes contract. There was 3 regions, that they're the ones shaded in blue on that map, that were in that position where there was still a term to run on the outcomes contract, and they'll be rolled into the new integrated delivery contract and will then go out to market and test the market post that 3-year. Regional update, important bits. So kind of mostly on track, a couple there that I don't think are a surprise. Just an update on Waitra to Bell Block, so the de Havilland Drive, Airport Drive roundabout, working towards releasing the tender in the coming weeks, subject to some of our stormwater design changes. And all being well, hoping to or aiming to start construction of that in May, and continuing to work with New Plymouth District Council to how we coordinate delivery with their local road improvements. On Mount Messenger, hopefully you will have received, if you subscribe, the latest newsletter and had the opportunity to have a look at the new flyover as well, which takes you through the tunnel. It's been a very positive and productive construction season on there, and you'll also may have noticed the cableway now being disestablished, no longer required on site. The completion date for this project, hence why it is amber, is unconfirmed as we still move through the legal and court proceeding process. State Highway Speed Management, I actually love following all of Fiona's updates because it covers a lot of my work, so thank you, Fiona. Just a note there though, we're about a week behind on the implementation of the school, so I think it says there early March. Yes, we're probably going to be more like end of March before they're all done. I think there's 5 still to do. They've got the foundations for the signage in place, but we need to put the signs in the ground still. This one, apologies, this is not as poor a picture as it looks here with 0 lane kilometres and 0 sites done. Not sure what happened there, so I'll take responsibility for that in my review of the update. So just to write for the record where we're at, the rehabs, the programme is actually just over 13 lane kilometres to be programmed in this 25-26 season. Of which we've completed almost 8 lane kilometres, reseals nearly 71 lane kilometres, and we've completed nearly 60 lane kilometres. The rumble strips, they are fully complete, so it's all done. That should definitely not say 0. And the drainage is actually 13 sites, of which 5 have been completed to date. And some of that work is fine to continue through into the winter period. Crown Resilience Programme, making good progress, and the one remaining there is Rahoto. That's the concept design has now been completed and beginning engagement with stakeholders and property owners on that. And our last one on the drawdown and funding, this is just collectively to give us a bit of visibility as to how we are tracking across our activity classes. So just to recap on what you're actually looking at there, so this is over the whole 24-27 period. The long light blue line is the total allocation of funds in each activity class over that period. The dark blue line is what has been claimed to date. And then the stripy, the hashed line, is what we would forecast needed to be spent by this point in time in order to spend your complete allocation. In checking with our teams, there's no significant red flags here. Some of it is phasing, some of it is design, some of it's weather-related impacts, and we're continuing to work with and keep in touch with particularly New Plymouth District Council on the walking and cycling project for their district that's just requiring a bit of further. Okay, so move on. And I think that's it. I'm happy to take any questions on that or anything that follows.
Thank you. Woodward.
Have a few, if I may. Sorry, Linda, first I'm obviously racking your brain on a few of these matters, so bear with me. Just a note on there, had the Mangere Road roundabout completed? Well, there's still work to be done on the island itself, are you aware of that when it's going to be completed?
What work are you
There's
referring to?
quite a few tonne of stone which are obviously there to be spread out and made into the garden, but it's actually a bit of a hazard when you're driving through. You actually can't see over it, so it's designed to be cosmetic, but it's having the adverse effect. So you're not aware of it?
That for me to check if any further work is required or not.
Yeah, it's just attracting, it's a visual distraction / hazard, and obviously weeds going on it, so if you,
Okay.
you can, it'd be fantastic. Brief one on the Mount Messenger bypass. I guess it's been tabled many times before, but I'm pretty well aware of the land ownership, more than I probably should be at the end. Is there a briefing you can give us as to how that's progressing, or has that already been done?
It's already been done, and all I can say that it's part of the legal court process and with LINs and Crown Law.
Okay, two more actually, if I may. There's sort of two into one. Around it's great news about the de Havilland Drive roundabout going to tender. Is the design of that any different than the Brixton Road roundabout? Quite a bit of feedback come up that the Brixton Road one, I can vouch this myself, is quite hard to get around, particularly truck and trailer. So I just have a good appetite for the de Havilland Drive one to know if it's a different layout. And I can't tell from their high level plan. Are you aware of it?
No, we wouldn't include the design of the roundabout in the RTC update. We are aware of the feedback. It does meet our design standards and has been double checked re the other roundabout that you're referring to, but we're well aware of that feedback will be taken into account for future design.
Great, thank you. And
it is just a different design.
It is different? Great news, thank you. One other one, just to bring to your attention more than anything else, speaking of school signs, the 30k sign at New Plymouth Girls High School on Mangere Road, we're getting a whole bunch of service requests in Northgate as well that the 30k sign is staying on, so we're getting a huge amount of requests for that. Is there any way we can ramp that up at your end to please have a look at it?
Absolutely. If you get your councillors, your officers to raise that with our team, absolutely, that can be looked at. So just to clarify, it's sticking on outside of the school times that are agreed? Yeah, definitely. That's something that we should remedy straight away.
Thank you. Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
I did notice,
You go. You can go if you like.
I just noticed that there was another appendix to your presentation with you were going to...
No, I don't ever speak to those, but always happy to take questions on them.
Thank you very much. Councillor Harris, do you have...
Yes, thank you. Just a question, if we can. Page 65, where the second to last bullet point in regards to the, I call them special hospital passes, but the special purpose roads and the far right. Have you got any comment on what that might look like? In
what sense, sorry?
It says here that you're due to confirm or transition to a normal far. They have not been transitioned to a normal far. But have you got any comment as to what the support mechanism might look like for special purpose roads?
So in 2017, the board resolved that all special purpose roads would be phased out, and they would not be classed as special purpose roads past that point. Once they're all phased, there are 5 remaining that the board are currently considering. I don't have any comment. I wouldn't, preempt a board decision on what associated funding would or would not be available. The intent was to transition them all back to the standard FAR for the appropriate RCA.
Thank you.
Mayor Nixon.
Just on that, Chair, I would actually be treating that as another unfunded mandate from central government. Those roads, the 2 that I know Stratford have up to former Dawson Falls and up to the Mountain House, in a lot of ways are there for tourism. And that's what it's used for, and I believe, and it's not just here, it's other ones that would be similar. MPDC obviously paid for the one up the other side now. I don't think that that's fair, that can be lumped onto territorial authorities to be paying for those roads, which really aren't an arterial route or anything for them for supplying their residents or anything. It is mainly, as I said, tourism, and I think this is wrong.
Thank you for your thoughts.
I've got to have to say. I couldn't agree more with Mayor Phil, but I think that there's still a principle here that, I don't know, just burning the torch, I suppose, but at the end of the day, those roads were classed as special for a reason. And then the reason didn't change, but the funding mechanism did. And we inherited those two roads. I think snow clearance alone, I think is something like, it was 1 year, a couple of years ago, it was $80,000 or $100,000 just for snow clearance. We used to get reimbursed for that, we don't now. That's a major burden on our ratepayers. But in a broader sense, our policy is that we maintain our roads up until a person's gateway. So we look after the road as it goes past your property or to your gateway. And when you get to your gateway, it's your piece of road or track. Well, the gateway in this case is the gateway to the national park. So in my view, we should maintain just to the gateway, and then what happens after that's not our problem. I'll just reiterate that's been my view right through, and still is. And given the difficulties we would potentially have to close a road, it would have to remain open and then just quietly deteriorate to the point that people couldn't use it. So that's my viewpoint. Thank you, Linda.
Can I ask you, Volsky, is that something that you've submitted on when that rule change happened? So you've taken that further?
Well, I certainly raised the point, and I'd be more than willing to raise it again if I thought it was going to get any traction, but at the moment I think it'll be whistling in the wind. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything further? Evelyn Nixon.
Thank you, Chair. Page 71, just a comment there on the variable speed limits. I do note in Harborough on State Highway 3, I was driving past there the other day towards Z service station, that part, and a brand new flashy sign was getting put up with a pole right in the middle of a footpath. When I came back the next day and went past, there was no pole and a little square that had been filled in the middle of said footpath. And now a temporary 30-kilometre sign is sitting there, so something must have gone horribly wrong there. I mean, it was just ridiculous for mobility scooters and that, so it was just a comment on that one. Really pleased to see on page 70.
Where was that?
Sorry?
Where was that?
So that was
At the
for
station in
Te Kura Kaupapa.
Yeah, thank you.
I can expand on that, Phil. It's true. But basically, our officer, we saw that and we passed the message to the relevant people, and they obviously we told them it's not practical to put it right in the middle of the path. They agree with that, because it's a contract. The reason is there's a lot of services there, and they're trying now to find a way to put it.
Thank you. So it has been raised with us, hence
Yes.
the pause.
And,
Thank you.
and halted, obviously, so. Action was
Thank you,
taken.
Vincent.
So
Thank you. Just on page 73, it is good to see that we're getting close to that culvert in Wahutu, which we've discussed several times. Thank you. Just noting on page 83, for my ignorance, there's some guys in the middle of a paddock that don't look like farmers, and they're looking for an optimal location for a half-pipe flume. What is a half-pipe flume, please?
Cool. Are you asking me? Might throw that out to anybody with any more technical knowledge.
If you actually look at the Olympics, you'll see that.
The optimal, I don't know, but I could come back to you on what a half-pipe.
At least it's not in your patch, Mayor Nixon.
No, it's not, but I tried to find something and couldn't. So.
I mean, basically a half plug, half pipe plume is, full covered, but they cut it into half and they do it like a channel for distributing water down the hill.
Oh, okay.
That seems logical.
Almost half a tunnel.
Highway 3 at
A
Whanganui.
drain.
Yeah, it's a drain.
Oh, yeah.
It's a half pipe
So you
drain.
could have looked
Okay.
down it if you wanted.
So no, you won't be skiing it, but there will be water flowing down it.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So sleep tonight.
Nothing further. I take it not. Thank you very much, Linda, for your presentation and always your frank and honest review of things. Do we have a mover that we receive the presentation from Rocco Tahi, please? Thank you, Councillor Woodward, seconded by Mayor Nixon. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. Thank you very much. We will move on now to item 12, which is our updates from our council reps. New Plymouth District Council, do you have anything to add to your...
No. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of New Plymouth report? I'll take it not. It's so thorough and very informative. Thank you very much. Move on to the next. Vincent from South Taranaki District Council. Your report. Anything you'd like to add, highlight?
No, I'll take the same stance as New Plymouth. I think it's right, and if any questions, I'm happy to answer. Maybe I could throw a different spiel to NZTA, to Linda. We recently know that NZTA has tendered out the street light maintenance for their own street light pole, because currently we are delegated to look after it. I know that the contract is supposed to start on the 1st of May. I just want a confirmation in writing from NZTA to say that we no longer need to maintain them on behalf of NZTA from 1st of May. If we can get that confirmation, it'd be great, because we're currently putting out a new contract as well.
Noted. Can action that. No problem, Vincent.
Thank you.
Can I
The same thing for you guys,
piggyback on that? Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
as well as Stratford as well.
Does the same apply for you, Steve?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
just
yeah.
replaced
Perfect.
most of the
Okay.
lights down Broadway, thanks, so.
NZTA, thank you for that.
Is you happy with that?
Yeah, please.
We'll jump to the middle one now, which is actually South Stratford District Council. Steve Bowden, if you'd like to highlight or come up with anything.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just, again, as the others, as Lynn, as Sarah and Vincent, just take it as read really. Just a little bit of a note at the end, just to give people a bit of a heads up. I mean, we're currently, I think, Sven's sort of put a bit of a question out to Linda about the funding of, there's some nice photographs in there of Buchanan's Bridge.
Yes.
So we got we had a conversation last week at council. We got 18 bridges, some not all suspension bridges, but 18 bridges that serve one or two property owners. When we've had a bit of a punt at a replacement cost of $14 million. So the question is, well, where's that money going to come from? Because it will happen. It will have to happen at some point in time. And it's not just us. It's a question that needs to be answered nationally, because everybody's in the same situation. So, and basically, just another one in there to let you know that we're carrying on with a lot of our resilience projects. So we've got another package of retaining walls going out today on Whitianga Road. So that'll be good. So that was which we got the funding from NZTA for that. And interesting, there's a couple of photographs there for the a slip that happened in July last year in the storm event, and just how quickly it goes from being, oh, okay, it's not too bad, to Christ, the road's disappeared. So, over a short period of time. So, but that's now been fixed. So that one's all completed now. So you just got on top of that one. And at the end, there's just a bit of a list, really, of some of the what we do internally at Stratford is some early conversation papers. So what this is, this sort of, if you like, it's my wish list, or some of the issues that are ticking in the background on the network within Stratford, and we're seeking direction from elected members on a way forward, and this in turn will inform the RLTP, because some of these in here, and if you want I can give you a bit of a heads up on the forestry one. We've already spent $9.5 million in the last 6 years fixing roads affected by forestry. I'm sure it's the same in New Plymouth, and Vincent's got a similar situation down south. So, and we know there's another wall of wood heading our way in 15 years' time, and it's a bigger wall of wood. So, and just the purpose of these is just to flag an issue, and then basically saying, well, okay, where do we go to from here? What can we take from the lessons learned from the last 10 years, put something in place for when the second wall of wood hits us in 2035 to 2050. So that's the purpose of those, really, just to flag any issues that are brewing on the horizon, which may inform the RLTP.
Thank you. I do notice, Mr. Bowden, that there is actually a meeting the day before you retire, so hopefully you will be in attendance for that one, and we'll see your presence again.
Yeah, I'll turn up for that.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the Traffic Council?
Yeah, thank you. Just picking up on a point that Steve made about these bridge replacements, and I'd just like to ask Linda this. We had a list provided to our council that had 18 bridges on it that are coming up for renewal in the not too distant future, and many of them do service just one property or perhaps a couple. And unfortunately, the peaks where we maintain up to sit on the far side of the bridge, which brings the bridge into the roading network. So we're obligated to maintain it or replace it. And so the situation that would occur at the moment, if it was maintained, then NZTA funds their share of the maintenance part, which in our case is 63%, I think, is our FAR rate,
yep.
which is good. However, if it's replacement, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that we're going to get that subsidy. And so the ability for NZTA to declare a bridge is uneconomic. I get that and I understand why, and I agree in many cases. But it allows NZTA to opt out of the future funding of those replacement bridges. And yet we don't have the luxury of opting out, because it's very difficult to close a road or to go through that process, if not impossible. So all that does is shifts the part that NZTA was going to pay across to the ratepayers of our district. And in some cases, I just literally don't know how we're going to fund that sort of sum of money and then justify it to provide a bridge for one property. Having said that, the owners of these properties, in many cases, it's their only access point. So it's just an absolute rock and a hard place situation. But it's just too cosy for NZTA to opt out of the funding part of that. So is there a mechanism we can get that on the table and get that discussed again?
This is a really topical one to raise, and I say that on the back of many of the decisions that we're making alongside our council partners in response to emergency works, particularly on the replacement or reinstatement post-weather events. And I would note in those instances, it's not your kind of BAU maintenance side or standard replacement, but it is almost forcing those discussions and decisions to happen. Where the guidance for us in the instance of where they may be deemed uneconomic or they may be, it might be marginal, we are working with particular councils to have a look at replacement costs and then what the process would be for revocation or stopping at that point. So that if the property owner was to then take ownership of that, they've got something that is least fit for purpose and they can access their property on an ongoing basis without substantive cost from that point onwards. We're also as well exploring whether, even bridges are the appropriate, so where they're marginal or fords, etc., more appropriate. When it comes to the process for standard maintenance activities, so if you've got an end-of-life bridge, that is something that is coming up more and more, and I'll provide a response back to your Chief Executive on that basis. At this stage, there is no standard process outside of the uneconomic structures bridges policy. So to your question, I do think that there is an opportunity potentially via Zone 3 or LGNZ to raise it at a national level, and I'd also say the same about the forestry example too. They're, in some ways they're related in many instances, but it's something that's coming up for discussion in a number of places, and then when you consider it in a in the face of potential reform and rate capping is going to become potentially a more significant issue. But it's, we would very much say, and I know that it's not an easy conversation to have and it's not an easy process to follow. If it's uneconomic, deemed uneconomic, it's probably not a great investment of either taxpayer or ratepayer money. But how we move through that process together so that one is not left carrying it, that needs to be worked through, Mayor Volsky.
Yeah.
It's not an easy one at all.
No, it's not. And I mean, if I just lastly just say, I mean, it's from our perspective as a council. I'm not arguing whether they're uneconomic. In many cases, they are, and they are in that sense a waste of money for councils or ratepayers and taxpayers. Right?
Yeah.
Get that. However, it's also the only access point for a farmer, so I get that
Yes.
too. But at the moment, I feel like we're taking a knife to a gunfight because what's happening is that NZTA effectively can opt out of the funding mechanism just by saying we don't fund uneconomic bridges, and then that puts the whole of that back on councils.
Yeah, your point is well made.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nothing further of the reports? I take it not. We'll move to recommendations on page 96 that we received the updates from the three councils. Thank you. Councillor Cloak, seconded by Councillor Harris. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? It's carried. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the item 13, the public transport operational report. You'll find from page 111, and we have Cheryl with us, who's going to highlight the report. Over to you, Cheryl. Thank you.
So an information item for you. I don't think there's anything too new or curly in it. It gives you an overview of the region's readiness for the April network, which, as you know, reflects about 3 years of community engagement and planning, and represents a step toward Council's long-term bronze or silver network, or our North Star, as we call it. Some of the highlights: the network is more streamlined, which makes it faster and more efficient. There's a focus on destinations. There's expansion into growth areas such as Highlands Park, and we have a new Waitara and Hawara service on Saturday. Our urban fleet is electric, which is timely, and alongside the network we have the new accessible website and the Te Pahi brand. And quite an extensive comms plan. You may have been bombarded on social media, I'm not sure. I know I certainly have. Okay, so to balance affordability and funding, there has been some service trade-offs. These are really difficult decisions to make, but we did need to protect the core network at this time. We have infrastructure happening. The majority was approved by NPDC recently, so that installation should be underway, and there were a few bus stops that just required further work in relation to either some resident feedback or safety matters, but those will be heading out for consultation shortly, I understand, and will go back to council for approval. The report also provides a snapshot of financial and operational performance. Q2, there's a small increase in patronage, which is hopeful, and fare revenue is increasing, and that'll be due to our recent fare adjustments. Looking ahead, we are all operating under funding constraints and rising operating costs, but for PT is that real need for increased service frequency, which will drive patronage for us. So we'll continue fighting the good fight and working with our TAs and funding partners to keep trying to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for that update. I just had a question that was regard to on page 115 under the new website where you talk about that giving real-time bus tracking. Is that something that's going to pop onto an app or mobile phone accessible, or does it have to go through the website to get that info?
So it will be both.
Both, okay.
The journey planner will be on the website,
yes,
and on an app, and Yeah.
hence timetables and all that would be
Correct.
well timed.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Wood.
Just one if I may, I think you might have already answered the chair in regards to the electric nature of the buses versus diesel now, but wondering, and more of something, do we need to get in front of all of our comms if there's a suspected increase in the non-electric buses with the fuel adjustment coming in, like diesel being more expensive? Is it something you can see in the horizon as an issue we can perhaps get in front of, letting our patrons know, or is it under control, do you think?
Do you think it requires more advertising around it?
I'm just wondering if it's something we can do just to ease some pain. If there's some pain coming to someone, say, hey, you know,
jump on a bus.
Yeah, no. I mean, if people are already using the bus,
Yeah.
and the bus is going to cost more to fill up, naturally the bus is going to have to charge more, I'd assume. That's my question. Are we going to have to charge more? And if we do we try and soften the pain by saying, hey, this is coming?
Okay,
Well,
That's
through
all.
you, Chair, I understand there are some conversations happening
Yeah,
in the
I asked the
background,
same
but early days, I would think.
Yeah.
Might be.
Chair, we are very early days in understanding what the short-term implications of the current dispute is, let alone the medium to long-term. We're very hopeful that this will be a short-term issue and it'll be resolved quickly, and there won't be a need to substantially increase our costs, and therefore for us to reconsider how we recover that through things like fares. The transition to the electric buses is good. It will ease some of that pressure, and the messaging we've got out to the community to date is it's far cheaper for you to get on a bus. We've got capacity, we've got a new system rolling out. This is what a wonderful opportunity for you to give it a crack. I'd be very pleasantly surprised if we have to put on more buses at a later date, and I will gladly write that cheque out if we have to do it.
Good problem.
It's a good problem to have. Cheryl, you can close your ears for that, please.
So you have that, Cheryl? Yeah.
Several witnesses, you're
Yeah, and just following up your question, Councillor Woodward, I asked Cheryl coming in, obviously there's got to be a full proportion of the cost that the provider is giving, and that will normally be outside of the contract to provide. The fuel contact would obviously meet the rates that is government will come up with what they reply. So I dare say there's a bit of a shared cost between NZTA and the transport operator, and regional council for getting those services provided. But
Yeah, there's two parts to it. I guess obviously the comms would be one thing, but equally, having owned many heavy units before, at the moment that FAF adjusts, you can also get in a hole very, very quickly before you've actually even thought about adjusting the price. And I'd hate TRC or anyone's,
I think
take a suffering with not as a huge profit.
I think they'll be all over that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just seeing if we can help, that's all.
Thank you. Councillor Harris.
Thank you. Through your chair, and off the back of that comment around buses, and you'll have to excuse my naivety because I'm just struggling to understand this. We're talking about transport, we're talking about a system that's regionally rated for, we're talking about a system that is utilised regionally. However, decisions are not made in this committee. Can you confirm why public transport is not in this committee? And on the back of your comment about, if it's utilised, then we can buy more buses. Couldn't that decision be in this committee?
Through you, Chair, the decision-making roles and responsibilities are complex. The issue about if we delegated authority to this committee to make those decisions, we would be basically giving you non-TRC elected members control over the budgets and rates setting process of the TRC. At this stage, the Regional Council, when they've considered that matter, has been not prepared to make that step, which is the short answer to your question. Which is why we involve, but where we want this committee to be involved is giving that advice and that feedback so that when we're setting routes, setting fare structures and all the rest of it, we hear loud and clear from the region. It's also why we've committed to having the Regional Passenger Transport Joint Committee as well. We want to hear this wider range of views. We're just not prepared to devolve financial accountability.
Yeah, following up, I think that is the main reason the joint committee has just come into operation again, and that is to hear the views of the councils and hopefully put some direction into what is required, and also with infrastructure that's required. They change routes, what's required by the councils infrastructure-wise to make those routes happen, and those sorts of things. So, you know, hopefully all that information will come through that, as an avenue, can come through that committee to be fed back as well.
Somewhat comforting, thank you.
Mayor Nixon.
So I just, as part of that, and I don't know whether Linda can answer this or not, but RTCs throughout the country, do they, you know, like, are the passenger transport parts of it separate like we have got now, or are they part of the Regional Transport Committee?
Decision making is separate. They all provide different, in 3 instances, including here, decision making is separate because Gisborne's a unitary authority, so it all works a little bit differently there. But for Hawke's and Manawatu Wanganui, the decision making is separate. In Manawatu Wanganui and Horizons, they have a public transport committee with members on that. Decision making is led by the regional council, but we probably have quite significant levels of reporting coming from the relevant committee in Horizons and also Hawkesbury through to the RTCs for visibility. But the decision making, as is said here, is held by the regional council and outside of the RTC per se. But all of the RTCs are heavily involved and have mechanisms for feedback in route planning, budgets, community needs, all of that. Yeah, so the decision making, as Mike says, is separate.
Thank you. Yeah, just on the same line, just I would accept the fact that TRC receives recommendations from this committee on how it should spend its money. I get that, and I don't have an issue with that. However, this committee effectively doesn't have a day-to-day or a really good optics on the public transport system. And yet, when we get to adopting the regional land transport plan, there'll be a section in there on that, I assume. So how does this committee endorse that and make the recommendation to TRC to adopt that plan when we haven't actually got optics over part of it?
Mike, Fiona?
Sorry, I was looking at probably talking to Mike.
Chair, we want to be very open and transparent with this process. We want to give you the information you need to allow you to make an informed decision when it comes to things such as the RLTP. If there's something more that you want from us, please let us know, and we will endeavour to provide as much optics as we possibly can. The only thing that the Regional Council is retaining is control of its budgets and its rates. So, if anything else, so, you know, route setting and all the rest of it, you're parcel of the single stage business case process, all those things all exist. If there's something more you would like from us, please let us know and we'll endeavour to provide it.
Councillor Harris.
Thank you. Supplementary to my initial question, thank you, Linda, for confirming that it is separate in a number of the jurisdictions that you're in. Horizons Regional Council have actually looked into that because quite a large chunk of Stratford District is in that Regional Council. And their rating mechanism for public transport is very different to the TRC, in which they are a targeted rate for people that actually have the greatest benefit to the service. So ratepayers that are in the Stratford district but in the Horizons Regional Council contribute nothing towards public transport because they don't have no benefit. Whereas in the Taranaki Regional Council, every property contributes to it on the level of their capital value of their property. So it's very different, and if there was anything I'd quite like to push and raise is that funding mechanism of public transport to ensure that the people that have the greatest benefit to it are contributing more than those that don't. So that would be my point.
So it's from Wongamomana, Amanda, you're not getting a great lot of benefit for your rates.
I don't utilise it to the extent that I contribute, put it that way.
Thank you very much.
Chair,
That's very diplomatic.
and the timing of this is really good because we're heading into a long-term plan process, and one of the key building blocks to the long-term plan is the revenue and financing policy, which drives that targeted rating mechanism. So, as a committee and as individual councils, I would encourage you to be actively involved in submitting on the revenue and funding policy around passenger transport.
Thank you.
That is the vehicle to seek change.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Noting that, as with all taxes, rates are not good at allocating costs and benefits. And there are no perfect models, but very happy to be involved. Thank you.
Anything?
Just a comment. I just wanted to acknowledge the work that Cheryl's done, and also the Regional Council on the public transport, on the new routes, the work that's gotten you to this point, but also as well your work to achieve on the ministerial expectations which came in, and I know that it's not been easy. So I mentioned it at the public transport committee meeting, but I wanted to mention it when we were here face to face, because I know it's been very challenging to get there, but your hard work and the work of the Regional Council has been well noted by us, so thank you, Cheryl.
An extreme amount of work has gone into it, and hopefully some very good outcomes for our region. So, thank you, Cheryl. With that,
Sorry, Chair, I was just going to make a comment on page 113. I didn't realise the impact of the new regional service, how it was changing the shape of Taranaki.
global perspective.
Oh, is that what it is? Thank you.
It's lifting power where it should be, Mayor Nixon.
Raising it.
Raising it, that's it.
Yeah.
So with that, I have a recommendation that we receive a note public transport update. I'm happy to move that, and Mayor Nixon is happy to second it. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. So with that, there is nothing, no verbal updates from Kiwi Rail or New Zealand Police. They haven't zoomed in on us. President and the public is clearly handled in the earlier recommendations. So with that, unless there is anything else pressing with anyone, that concludes our agenda for today's meeting. I thank Liesl for stepping up, jumping on board, helping us out. And I declare the meeting over, and we'll finish with our closing karakia. We will have a karakia for Kai.
As well, yes.
There is a light lunch provided. Please make yourselves available.
Ki uru mai, aurora, aurakaha, auraya, ki ranga, ki raro, ki roto, ki aho, reo, paraya. Nō mai e naua, o te wao, o te nakina, o te waitai, o te wai Māori. Nā tāne, nā rongo, nā tangaroa, nā Māori. Ko rongo nui e te iho ne. Ko papatua nuku e takauto aki ne. Tutura witi wakabawa ki a tina, kuie, tākie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
I suppose you can get the paper for everybody secretaries there. Should be
Absolutely.
doing all right.
No, it's actually a pay cut for me because of the current high pay.
Well, she's got to drop down to the other pay level.